name is Chev Chelios, and today's the day that I die. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I've been poisoned with some kind of Chinese synthetic. You gotta do something for me, Doc.
They gave you the Beijing cocktail. It's cutting off your adrenaline. If you stop, you die.
I mean, short, sweet, and straight to the point. That's exactly what the movie is about. Jason Statham plays Chev Chelios, an LA-based assassin who's poisoned with a synthetic drug and must keep his adrenaline flowing constantly to keep himself alive while tracking down the culprits responsible for poisoning him. And it leads to all kinds of crazy, chaotic shit. I mean, it's an action film, but it's also kind of a dark, black comedy at the same time because there's literally scenes where where Jason Statham literally has to bang his girlfriend Amy Smart in the middle of public, like, to keep his adrenaline going. And, like, it's that type of movie. It's a movie that knows exactly what it is, and by God, I love the hell out of this movie. I love how ridiculous it is. I love how stupid and over the top it is. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, man. This is a really good, fun movie, directed by Mark Neverdine and Brian Taylor, who sadly have not really reached the high marks that this movie had done. I mean, they've done other movies similar to this, Crank High Voltage, of course, the sequel, and then there was Gamer, and then Jonah Hex, and then they did all these other movies that didn't quite live up to what this movie was able to accomplish, man. And it's a shame because this movie is absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant in its stupidity. It's brilliant in its ridiculousness. It's over-the-topness. The fact that it's a crazy action movie that just goes all over the place when it needs to. It's a great movie, man. I love the hell out of it. It's one of my favorite Jason Statham movies, and it's hard not to see why. It's a film that's so ridiculous, so over-the-top, and so goofy fun. Like, you can't help but have a good time with it, man. It's just a good time all the way through. I really love it. If you haven't seen it, and you love over-the-top action movies, you're going to love the hell out of this movie. No question about it. Crank, definitely a must-see. Speaking of must-sees, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Nicolas Cage in a so-bad-it's-good remake of The Wicker Man.
On a lonely stretch of road, one man will meet a girl.
I'll get it.
Who will change his life forever.
Give me a hand!
Now, as he follows every clue,
A little girl is alive.
all roads lead to
The Wicker Man.
Who's the Wicker Man?
He's been expecting you.
Nicolas Cage, The Wicker Man, rated PG-13, starts Friday, September 1st.
Yeah, the people who made the original Wicker Man probably did not like how this one turned out, but this is a remake and a reimagining, if you will, of said movie, The Wicker Man, and it's a movie that follows Nicolas Cage, who's a police officer whose ex-fiancée informs him that her daughter was missing on this island and asks him to search for her, but when he arrives on this island where she was last seen, he suspects something sinister about the neo-pagans who live there. And chaos and hilarity ensues after that because, man, this movie takes the most insane possible turns you can possibly go with a film like this, with a performance by Nicolas Cage that is so bad and yet so good at the same time. From asking how did the doll get burned the way he does, to screaming about a certain animal, a certain insect that will sting you multiple times. I mean, what more can you say about this movie that hasn't already been said already? It's a bad movie, don't get me wrong, but it's the definition of a so-bad-it's-good movie. You watch this movie to just see how much more insanity and craziness it can go, and this movie has that all over the place and then some. It's a movie that is so ridiculously stupid. It's ridiculous in so many ways, like kind of like with Crank overall, only Crank knows what it's doing. This one, I really don't think they have any idea what the hell they're doing, but they're just having a good time with going along with the ride, and what more can I say about it, man? It's a movie that is so bad. Not the bees. Oh, they're in my eyes. They're my eyes. Just to give you kind of an idea of the ridiculousness that this movie has to offer. Just such a good time all the way through. I love how bad this movie is. It's just such a fun mess all the way through. And I love every minute of it. The Wicker Man, complete masterpiece of terribleness, but I love every minute of it. What more can you say, man? The Wicker Man. So how about some crap now? Real crap, not the so bad it's good type of crap, but no, a straight up literal piece of shit crap movie, whatever you want to talk about it. Crossover.
It's street ball, not the NBA. Jules' team hasn't lost a game in 3 years.
I'm good. Now, you only think you're good.
If a man wants something he never had before, you gotta do something he ain't never done before.
You can't win.
We'll beat him together.
Yeah, this is a bad movie. A naturally talented basketball player, played by Anthony Mackie, is determined to become a doctor using his basketball scholarship to UCLA pre-med, rather than succumb to the lure of a former sports agent, played by Wayne Brady, and go for the NBA. His best friend, the buddy that took the fall for him and did the time for the assault charge, also an outstanding basketball player, has less lofty ambitions. He wants to get his GED and win an underground street ball game against his arrogant rival, Jules. Their lives change drastically when they both fall in love with two local girls and take a fateful trip out to LA together. And, yeah, this is a bad movie. This is a film that's trying to be your typical cliche-riddled sports picture, but at the same time, it wants to be a movie that's made for the same audience that would go for something like You Got Served, and tries to add a little bit of a You Got Served flow to it, and it's just not there, man. And this is just a lazily put together movie that is not funny, not enjoyable by any means necessary. And we've seen Anthony Mackie and Wayne Brady and Lil JJ and Kristen Wilson in so many better movies than this. This director has made better movies than this. This is the same director that did This Christmas, which will come out the year later, and was a much better movie overall. But yeah, not much more to say about this one. This is a steaming pile of garbage that was quickly forgotten, and for good reason, So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, which is Mike Judge's Idiocracy. Now, this is usually the point where I would show a trailer or a commercial, but there is none. There's literally not a lot of marketing for this movie whatsoever. There's a poster that was supposed to be part of the theatrical release of the movie, but this film was a film that Fox completely buried for reasons that are still beyond me, even after all these years. So, from what I'm reading here, something about how, this was originally supposed to come out this weekend, and it was supposedly released in a specific number of theaters, not a lot of theaters, but the release was then put on hold, but then later was essentially released in only 7 theaters, so 7 cities, actually, where it was only released in 130 theaters, not the usual wide release, and Fox didn't bother promoting the movie. They had posters, but they had no trailers, no ads, only 2 images that went out, no press release went out. The film wasn't even shown to critics, and it led Fox to, many didn't know what Fox was doing, and, the distributor may have actually tried to keep the film from having a large release while fulfilling a contractual obligation for a theatrical release ahead of a DVD release. That's according to someone from the Associated Press, and, someone else also said the ads and trailers they did make tested atrociously, but still abandoning Idiocracy seemed particularly unjust, since Judge makes a lot of money for Fox. I mean, this is the guy that is behind King of the Hill, and Office Space was still one of the most profitable movies for the studio around that time, and it led to the point where, Mike Judge later on went to say that the film's lack of marketing wide release came from a lot of negative test screenings. He added that Fox decided not to give the film a strong marketing push because they thought the film would develop a cult following through word of mouth, recap its budget through home video sales like Office Space did, which kind of did, but at the same time, it's just like, none of this really makes a whole lot of sense why they wouldn't even release the movie from a director who is well known to many people. Mike Judge, of course, is the guy that did Beavis and Butthead, but also, like I said, he made King of the Hill, which was still very popular at the time. Office Space was still one of the most beloved movies of all time. Beavis and Butthead Do America was a profitable hit for Paramount. I mean, there are so many things about this movie that just, it makes no sense why they didn't bother to release it. So instead of showing you the trailer, here's the All My Balls scene from that movie. And that's what gives you an example of some of the funny elements of this movie, which this movie really has basically become a preview of what the world has essentially become. You have a story where you have Luke Wilson, who plays a librarian, and Maya Rudolph, starring as a prostitute, who undergo a government hibernation experiment, and they awaken 500 years into the future into a dystopian anti-intellectual society. and it serves as a social satire that touches on issues like anti-intellectualism, commercialism, consumerism, dysgenics, voluntary childlessness, and overpopulation. And, yeah, it's a really funny movie. A really good movie. Is it as good as Office Space? No, I wouldn't say it's that good. I mean, Office Space is a great movie on so many levels, but this is still a really damn good movie. And like I said, it's a precursor to what The Wolves has essentially become 20 years later, honestly. I mean, the movie was pretty much predicting the future right before our eyes, kind of like how The Simpsons predict the future when you look at it. But yeah, there's no reason why this movie never got a big theatrical release. I mean, it's still baffling to me why this never got the proper release it deserved, but God, is it a funny movie, man. It's a really good, funny, satirical comedy with Terry Crews as the President of the United States. You also have Dax Shepard in here, David Herman, Justin Long. You know, just a really solid cast, a really fun idea overall, a really great film that really sadly deserved a lot more of an attention when it came out, but I'm glad to see that over time it did eventually find its following. Maybe not to the levels that Office Space did, but I am glad to see that the movie did eventually find its audience. But at the same time, you can't help but wondering what the hell Fox was thinking without even trying to market this film to anybody or trying to see if it can make money. I'm pretty sure it would have made money on this particular weekend. It could have made a ton of money when it came out in theaters, especially considering the competition that it had out that weekend. This thing could have easily been a hit overall, but nope. Fox decided to just let it slip, and it quickly went away to hopefully make its money back through DVD, and it still baffles me to this day why this never got a proper release. It makes no sense whatsoever. But the movie is great. If you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. Especially now in times like this, you know, be a good time to watch it again. Give it a good chance to watch it now, because you can see that they predicted the future pretty much. So, not much more to say about that one. That is Idiocracy for you.
Imagine having the ability to do anything you want, but the more you use the power, the more it weakens you. Now, a member of the Fifth Family has returned
Have you met Chase? We just transferred in.
to seek revenge. You can't beat me. And destroy their covenant. Something's wrong.
Tonight on the WB, Metrosexual Wizards.
That's pretty clever.
They're gonna make you their wiatch.
So, of course, that's not a clip from the actual movie itself. Well, it is, but that's from the Real Deal review from before Corey and the gang went to do Spill.com and then later DoubleToasted.com, because that's pretty much the only thing you really need from this movie to get some humor out of it. Just watching them lambast the hell out of that movie, because rightfully so, because, yeah. This is a bad movie. Four best friends, young warlocks of the same coven who all share the same secret, magic power, suddenly have to protect themselves from a stranger, another warlock just like them, who has come to their town to destroy their coven after a 300-year hate. And, yeah, as they say in that commercial, in that clip there, this is something that would have been seen on the WB easily, or on the CW, I guess, at that time, because, my God, this is a terrible movie. This is a really horrible film, and honestly, you really don't need to hear me say it, because, yeah, everyone has said about this. This is directed by Rennie Harlan, by the way. You know, the guy that made badass movies like Die Hard 2, The Last Boy Scout, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and this is what he's been reduced to now, these terrible movies, and he's been on a streak of these bad movies. Driven, Mindhunters, Exorcist: The Beginning, and it gets worse and worse as we go along, because, yeah, this guy has not made a good movie since the 1990s, and that streak has continued ever since, because he hasn't made a good movie since then. And this is definitely not one of those good movies whatsoever. You have a cast that includes teen actors who we would easily see on a CW or WB show, but let's add in this element of these, of like, because, like, there's a lot of homoeroticism in this movie, man. This is just a ridiculously stupid movie that even shows like even shows that the CW and the WB had around that time look butch by comparison to this garbage, and this is garbage. This is a lousy movie where it's nothing but watching these teenage guys, by the way, just walking around half-dressed, wearing these Speedos, or as they said in the Real Deal review, nut huggers, and there's literally shower scenes that are literally nothing but watching these guys in showers. There's no women that get naked in this. They try to tease you a little bit with a nipple, but That's about it. If a nipple is the thing you're looking for an arousal thing from this movie, then clearly you're looking at the wrong movie in general here. This movie is like, even its target audience that this was trying to go for looked at this movie and go like, oh fuck no, we're not going back to this movie. And the people who didn't see it goes like, oh fuck no, I'm not watching this. Yeah. This is a bad movie. I don't think I need to say too much more about how terrible this movie is because, yeah, it's a bad movie. I can't believe it was even the #1 movie at the box office, but it was, unfortunately. But, which is saying because the next movie is a far better movie that should have gotten much better treatment than this movie did. So let's talk about that movie, and that is Hollywoodland.
Tuesday, Hollywoodland is a perfect crime thriller. Why? Sexy, exciting, and mysterious. Adrian Brody, Diane Lane, and Ben Affleck are Oscar-worthy. Hollywoodland on DVD and HD Tuesday.
A movie that was so embarrassed to not even include anything Superman related because Superman Returns was a big box office flop in the summer of 2006. But then again, that could have been mostly because of the copyright fight that was going on between Warner Brothers and Focus Features that kind of led to this, and they had to retitle the movie and everything. But this is a story about the fictionalized account of the circumstances surrounding the death of actor George Reeves, played by Ben Affleck in this, who of course was Superman in the TV series The Adventures of Superman back in the 1950s. Adrian Brody stars as a fictional character, a private detective investigating Tony Mannix, played by Diane Lane, who was involved in a long romantic relationship with Reeves and was the wife of the MGM studio executive, played by Bob Hoskins in this. Reeves had ended the affair and had become engaged to a younger woman, aspiring actress Leonora Lemmon, played by Robin Tooney. And, it's a really good movie. It's a film that definitely did not get the proper respect it deserved. It kind of came and went at the box office. It was a really good movie, but most notably, it was the first real movie that welcomed Ben Affleck back after so many flops he had been involved in. Paycheck, Geely, Surviving Christmas. This was the return for Ben Affleck, the start of the return, because following that, he would direct his first movie with Gone Baby Gone, which was a huge, well-made film that was very successful critically. Once again, financially, not so much, but that one went on to get some Oscar nominations overall, and it would eventually lead to Ben Affleck's true return to form with Argo a couple years later, which would later win Best Picture, even though he wouldn't be nominated for Best Director. But this is a really good movie. It's a really incredible movie that shows why Ben Affleck was such a good actor to begin with, and why it's incredible to see him come back after all of these bad movies he made for most of the decade. And this was his return. This was his return to form in general. And you got a cast that also includes terrific actors: Adrian Brody, Diane Lane, Robin Tooney, Bob Hoskins, and a story that is very, very compelling and very, very engaging overall. And you do get invested in the story overall, and you want to see how this film is going to handle the story of George Reeves, because the story of George Reeves is very captivating and very intriguing in so many ways. From the fact that he was afraid he was going to be typecast as Superman for the rest of his life, and that's why he basically killed himself. And yeah, this movie does a very good job of handling that. And this is directed by Alan Coulter, who's been a very prolific television director, and yet he's only made 2 feature films. This is easily his best movie, because the next film he would make is Remember Me with Robert Pattinson, and yeah, that's not a good movie overall. But this is a really damn good movie. One I highly recommend checking out. It's definitely a very underrated Ben Affleck movie. It's one you have to check out. Definitely seek this one out. You are really doing yourself a huge disservice by not seeing it. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Tony Jay starring as The Protector.
Destroyed everything he loved. Now, his strength will defy a government. His courage will inspire hope. His fight will make him a legend. On September 8th, Tony Jaa is The Protector. Rated R.
So in the film, in Bangkok, you have the young Kam, who's raised by his father in the jungle with elephants as members of their family. When his old elephant and the baby Kern are stolen by criminals, Kam finds that the animals were sent to Sydney. He travels then to Australia, where he locates the baby elephant in a restaurant owned by the evil Madame Rose, the leader of an international Thai mafia, and with the support of the efficient Thai Sergeant Mark, who was involved in the conspiracy, Kam fights to rescue the animals from the mobsters. Now, the name The Protector is the name that it was given for the English dubbing of this movie. This movie was originally called Tom Young Goong in the country of Thai, I think it is. because it's this Thai martial arts movie, and of course, The Protector was also the name of a 1985 Jackie Chan movie directed by James Glickenhaus. But this was when the Weinstein Company was picking up these movies and putting them out through the Dragon Dynasty Company. And kind of like what they did with the Jackie Chan movies when they had them over at Dimension and Miramax, they trimmed the film down so it would get an R rating, so it could be seen in theaters. They actually added a score by RZA, and a lot of the stuff that was in the original version has been largely cut out of the film, which included several key plot elements that were taken out of the film in general. But, yeah, as far as the film itself goes, it's one that I rarely remember seeing. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen this one, now that I think about it, but... No, I haven't seen this one. I'm telling you stuff that's not true at all, but yeah, I have not seen this movie, so I don't really know if it's any good or not. I've never heard anybody really say this is one you should check out, but... Yeah, it's one I've never seen before. Now that I think about it, I have not seen this particular version of this film. I never saw the original version either, so I really don't know if the original version is any good either. But it's available out there to get both versions of this on DVD, so it's out there somewhere. Someday I might pick it up and check it out. But yeah, I don't remember ever seeing this one, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. But these English dubbings that the Weinstein Company did back in the day usually have not been that great overall, so I wouldn't be surprised if this one was not a great transfer. So yeah, not much more I could say about that one. So let's go ahead and get back to some movies that I have seen with our last movie that we have here, and that is Maggie Gyllenhaal in the indie film Sherry Baby.
Understand the conditions of your parole, Miss Swanson? Any unreported police contact will result in the immediate violation of your parole, and I will violate you.
To see my daughter. I haven't seen her in a long time.
It'll be like you never left. Hey, girls.
I would like to work with kids. I have a child. And I would like to become a better mother.
And evidently that was enough to get her the job. I mean, the next scene is literally her getting the job as the teacher. Maggie Gyllenhaal plays Sherry Swanson, who returns home to New Jersey after serving a 3-year prison sentence. Eager to reestablish a relationship with her young daughter, Sherry soon discovers that coming back to the world she left behind is far more difficult than she had planned. And this was kind of where Maggie Gyllenhaal was slowly but surely becoming one of those actresses that everyone was watching out for. Like, everyone was thinking that she was going to be the next big thing, and she really does show a lot of what makes her so great in this movie. I mean, she steals the show in here. She's fantastic. She gives the best performance in the movie easily. She's got a great cast around her. Brad William Henke from Choke, Giancarlo Esposito, Danny Trejo among the cast in here. It's a really good movie. It's a really good, underrated little gem of a film that not a lot of people really talk about all that much. I found this on a blind buy when it was at my Giant Eagle that I worked at when we had the video section. I watched it. I rented it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a very good film overall. A very well-done film. Great performance by Maggie Gyllenhaal. I thought she was really strong in the movie. I thought she really carried a lot of weight that showed what her future is as an actress in general, and a leading actress. And it's a really good movie that sadly didn't get the attention that I think it deserved. I feel like she should have gotten an Oscar nomination for a performance in this. Like, she's really good in the movie. And I really liked her a lot in this film. I thought she really was the strongest part of the film. The story is very well done. It's a captivating storyline. It's a great story involving this character. It's a really good movie. One that doesn't get the proper attention it deserves. It's a really great film. I highly recommend checking it out, though. Definitely check it out. Sherry Baby.
Stay off the streets. All we do is create a void. We've got to fill that void. More than just a code. You want to start a football team? Exactly.
Whatever hood you're from, this is your hood now.
More than just a team.
I want to show people I can play. It's harder than a loser.
More than just a game.
Now it's time to prove to everyone out there that even though you're locked up, you're somebody.
Based on a true story.
Not lose no more. All we gotta do is show it one more time.
Iron Gang, rated PG-13. In theaters September 15.
So in the Kilpatrick Juvenile Detention Center, the supervisor and former football player Sean Porter, played by Dwayne Johnson, sees the lack of discipline, self-esteem, union, and perspective in the teenage interns and proposes to prepare a football team to play in one league. He is supported by one of his supervisors, and a successful experience changes the lives of many young kids. And, if you've seen one of these movies before, you've seen all these movies. They're all pretty lackluster, except for ones like Remember the Titans, or most of the Disney underdog sports movies. This is a movie that's trying to be like a Disney underdog sports movie, but much more grittier and much more intense. But at least it's showing what Dwayne Johnson's range as an actor is. And I guess that's the one real positive I could take from the movie, is that Dwayne Johnson overall isn't bad in the movie. In fact, he's probably the best overall thing about the film in general. Everything else is pretty lame. I mean, this is a story that's not really all that engaging or exciting. Like I said, we've seen this story done so many times before in the past. Friday Night Lights did this much better, except for, obviously, that they weren't, in Friday Night Lights, they weren't criminals, or juvenile delinquents, if you will. But, I don't know, there's probably a good movie in here somewhere, but I honestly didn't see it. I mean, I remember watching this movie back in the day when it came out in theaters, and I was like, yeah, I couldn't find anything of noteworthiness to it, per se. And it really has not held up over time, honestly. Plus, we've seen Dwayne Johnson do so many better things than movies like this. And, like I said, the only real positive that can come from this is that we get to see what Dwayne Johnson can do as an actor as a whole, instead of him just being in another generic action movie in general. So he is really trying his hardest to save the film, but other than that, though, it's not enough for me to say that this is a good movie. And I can't really say it is a good movie, so yeah, definitely a hard skip on Gridiron Gang. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that's Brian De Palma's latest film, The Black Dahlia.
Every year they come to Hollywood. Young, beautiful, waiting to be discovered. Or devoured. The victim has been cut in half, and the mouth sliced ear to ear. The director of Scarface and the author of L.A. Confidential tells the untold story of the most notorious unsolved crime in California history. The Black Dahlia, rated R, in theaters September 15th.
So yeah, you've got Brian De Palma, who of course directed great movies like Scarface, The Untouchables, and James Ellroy, who of course wrote L.A. Confidential. This feels like a film that should be an all-around winner, and for a lot of people it wasn't. I personally really enjoyed the hell out of it, though. You have a story that is following two Los Angeles Police Department detectives investigating the murder of Elizabeth Short, played here by Mia Kirshner, and it leads to a series of shocking discoveries. The two cops are played by Aaron Eckhart and Josh Hartnett. They come across all these different people, including Hilary Swank and also Scarlett Johansson, and it's a really good movie. I really like it a lot. I think it's an engaging mystery. I like how gritty it is. I like how dark it is, and a lot of people didn't like it back in the day. A lot of people thought the plot was way too convoluted. I thought that the story didn't make a whole lot of sense overall. I don't know. I thought I followed it pretty well throughout when I first saw it, and I think it still holds up a lot in the years since it's been released, and I actually like it. I think it's a really good film, and I think it works because the performances are really good. You got great performances by Hartnett, Johansson, Eckhart, and Swank, but of course the breakout here is Mia Kirshner playing Elizabeth Short, and she really makes it work. She really is putting a lot into this role in particular, and it just works to so many levels. It's really the one thing you come out of this movie remembering the most from it, honestly. And like I said, I like how dark and grisly it gets, because it's not afraid to get intense when it needs to. And for a story like this, it really does need to be an intense film in general here. And because the film unfortunately failed at the box office, De Palma was basically outed from Hollywood because of this. And a lot of his movies were essentially bought by independent studio makers, which I think is really a disappointment, because the guy still has it. I mean, he's still got what it takes. And, you know, I mean, he could have been a really good director overall if he had continued making movies under the studio system, but to be honest, a lot of his independent movies that came after this have not been really that good. In fact, The Black Dahlia, I would probably say, is his last really good film overall. It's not one of his best films overall, but it's a film I think deserves a lot more attention than it gets, positive attention. It's a really good movie, a lot of great talent on board in the cast, a good story. It's not afraid to get dark and grisly when it needs to. I thought it really worked very well. I think I'm one of the few people that actually really like this movie a lot, but I think it still holds up. I think it's a really good film. It's definitely worth checking out, in my opinion. Definitely check it out, The Black Dahlia. So with that said, let's move on to our next movie, and that is the animated feature, Everyone's Hero.
Legendary bat is stolen.
Someone broke into the Yankees locker room.
What are you looking at? Yankees' only choice
I gotta get baby's bat back.
is to go after it.
What?
No matter how far it takes him.
Baby's bat.
William H. Macy.
Oh.
Rob Reiner.
My head! My head!
Raven Simone. And Whoopi Goldberg.
Don't you make me break out my whooping stick.
Everyone's Hero. Rated G. Starts Friday, September 15th.
So yeah, this is a film that exists, unfortunately. The story is about a young boy named Yankee Irving who finds himself at an extraordinary crossroads. He has a chance to be a hero and make a difference against incredible odds, or he can play it safe. With faith in himself instilled in his family, he teams up with a sassy young girl played by Raven Simone and some off-the-wall sidekicks, a baseball voiced by Rob Reiner and Whoopi Goldberg as Babe Ruth's bat, and embarks on a sometimes perilous, often funny cross-country quest. In the process, he restores his family's honor, befriends the world's biggest sports superstar Babe Ruth, played by Brian Dennehy, and reveals the hero within. Man, that's the sappiest premise I've ever read in my life. And, hey, Christopher Reeve was one of the directors on this movie, but who made this movie before he passed away. Why is he involved in this? We don't know. You know, would it have helped the movie if he was alive to finish the entire film? Probably not, because this is a really stupid idea as a whole. I mean, the movie is literally about features Whoopi Goldberg as Babe Ruth's bat. For whatever reason, I have no idea. This is a really, really lazy movie. I mean, it is so badly put together, and maybe there's a good idea there, but everything about this movie just feels so sappy, so cheap. I mean, this is a film that really looked pretty bad from the get-go. And, yeah, like I said, there's a possibility for something good in this movie, but it's really not that good of a film. In fact, far from it. It's a really, really bad movie overall. And there's nothing funny about it. There's nothing clever about it. There's nothing engaging about it. There's nothing interesting about it whatsoever. It's a really lame movie. And if this was Everyone's Hero, then the world is pretty much fucked over big time. Because, man, this movie sucks. This is a terrible, terrible movie. Really lazy film overall. Yeah, I didn't like it. I hated it from the beginning. And it has not held up well over time either. So, a hard pass on Everyone's Hero. And Christopher Reeve, you deserve to have a much better movie with your name attached to it as your last project you worked on. Him and his wife, too, because his wife worked on this movie, too. Dana Reeve, but she passed away before the movie came out as well. Yeah, they deserve a better project to have their name attached to than this pile of garbage here. So, can we end the show on a much better note? Can we end it on a better note with The Last Kiss?
Don't you love weddings?
Actually, no, they make me pretty depressed.
There's nothing like the happiest day of someone else's life
This should have been us. I took it to your prom.
to make you
I've been
realize
thinking about my life lately, and there are no more surprises.
No.
what's meant to last.
You are an enormous loser.
Only a loser could love a loser.
Zach Braff,
She's the last one on my case.
The Last Kiss. Rated R. Starts September 15th.
Yeah, this was Zach Braff's big follow-up to Garden State, and unfortunately, not as good. In fact, not even good whatsoever. The plot revolves around a young couple and their friends struggling with adulthood and issues of relationships and commitment. Zach Braff is married to Jacinda Barrett, and he decides to go out on this relationship with this other woman, played by Rachel Bilson from the OC, and it just essentially creates chaos and havoc all around, and basically half of the rest of the movie is literally Zach Braff standing outside of Jacinda Barrett's door asking him to forgive him, and no joke, that is literally the rest of this movie. This movie is so bad. This is a poorly put together movie on so many levels with a top talented cast all around here. You know, Zach Braff, Jacinda Barrett, Casey Affleck, Rachel Bilson. You have Harold Ramis in here. Tony Goldwyn directed this. Blythe Danner, Tom Wilkinson. You know, a lot of really good talent in this movie. And the script was written by Paul Haggis, who just won an Oscar for directing Crash. And with all that talent involved in this movie, you would think that there would be something interesting and something more engaging here, but no, there's just not. The first half of the movie isn't bad. It's just bland, it's mediocre, it's nothing incredible. And then the second half happens when, you know, all hell breaks loose and Zach Braff is trying to get back with Jacinda Barrett, and that's the rest of the movie. I'm not even kidding you. When I saw this in the theaters back in the day, I was so bored by the end of it. I just couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, I was literally on the cusp of walking out of a movie. I'd never walked out of a movie at any point before this movie, but this would have been the first one I would have ever walked out on, because it was just getting so boring and so pretentious. As soon as that last part of the movie happened, it was just like, come on, just get over it already. Just get on with it already. Like, shit or get off the pot is what I wanted to say. And then when it comes to the inevitable conclusion, I was just kind of like, you gotta be kidding me. You made me sit there for that? This is not a good movie. And it's a shame, because, like I said before with Garden State was that one big, really good movie that Zach Braff did. And then after that, just whatever movie he put himself in, he just could never find that magic that he did with Garden State. You know, this, The X, Wish You Were Here, Going in Style, all these movies that had potential to them, and they just couldn't work in any way, shape, or form. And the movie just ends up being an overall mess of a film. And this is definitely an example of where the ship began to really come down. And it's just like, yeah, this is not a very good movie. And it's a disappointment, too, especially coming off a Garden State. I really wanted to see what Zach Braff can do after that. And for this to be his big follow-up film, and this is the end result of it, yeah, it really did not come together well. So, yeah, a hard skip on The Last Kiss. Just a bad movie overall.
When it was released in 2002, people were outraged. A new low. A plunge into depravity. A sad commentary on our degenerating culture. A disgusting, repulsive, grotesque spectacle. Unfortunately for them, we just made number 2.
Perfect sum up of the movie in general. I mean, it's the Jackass gang in their second movie, and it's, you know, them doing more bigger stunts, more bigger pranks, more bigger skits, and you can tell that the budget has gotten a whole lot better, because this one doesn't look like a movie that's straight out of a video, was recorded straight out of a video camera like the last movie was. But no, this movie feels radically different overall, and radically different, and yet still very much the same film overall, and maybe even more so. I mean, you could definitely tell they got a bigger budget, they were upping the ante on what they could do, and that was just what the future of the Jackass movies eventually would become, because with every movie, the stunts would get bigger, the comedy would get bigger, they'd have a bigger budget, and unlike most movies where they go big or go home and they usually fail, these guys go big, and they usually are very, very successful, as the films that follow after this got better and better. But this is a really entertaining movie. It's a really good film, showing what the Jackass guys do best. The stunts are pretty awesome. A lot of great laugh-out-loud moments all throughout the movie. The creativity of these sketches keep getting more creative and more intriguing as the films go on. What more can you say, man? It's just a good, fun time all around. Not much more to say. So that's Jackass number 2. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Fearless. Oh, I'm sorry, Jet Li's Fearless.
Jet Li's Fearless.
Because we can't compare it to the 1993 Jeff Bridges, Rosie Perez movie or something like that. But this is Jet Li. It's loosely based off the life of Huo Yanija, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, a Chinese martial artist who challenged former foreign fighters in highly publicized events. And in this, Li stated that the film was his last wushu martial arts movie, a point made in the film's TV promotions and other publicity, but he would do more action films with martial arts in them and didn't rule out historical epics with martial arts. And it just leads to a lot of impressive stunt work. A good movie overall, not quite Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Hero, but still a really enjoyable film overall. I don't really have too much more to say about it, but it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. But last time I saw it, I remember really liking it overall. So, yeah, not much more to say about that one. Pretty good movie overall. Great stunt work all around. It's Jet Li doing what Jet Li does best. So, yeah. Definitely check it out. Fearless. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is not a good film, because we've had a couple good movies so far. Now let's get to some crap. This is Fly Boys.
They were the first Americans to fight in the skies.
I just watch you guys day after day, wondering how you do it.
From the producer of Independence Day and The Patriot comes a true story of bravery and honor. Also, Flyboy's 2-disc collector's edition with historical footage and behind-the-scenes extras.
I had no idea that it was going to be like that. I'm not going to leave you.
Flyboys, on a Tuesday.
See, that should have been the first warning right there. This is done by the same people that did Independence Day and The Day After Tomorrow. Roland Emmerich, of course, who produces this movie. This is directed by Tony Bill, and one of the writers is David S. Ward, who were great people back in the day, but around this time they were really struggling to just keep their names in Hollywood. And yeah, this film didn't help out much at all. So, set during World War I, the film follows the enlistment training and combat experiences of a group of young Americans who volunteer to become fighter pilots in the Lafayette Escadrille. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I might be not, but Lafayette Escadrille. I'm just going with that. The 124th Air Squadron, formed by the French in 1916. It deals with the themes of friendship, racial prejudice, revenge, and love. Unfortunately, the movie itself is not that great, and when you're making a movie like Pearl Harbor look more enjoyable and more entertaining than this, then you really are making a bad case for yourself, because, my God, this is a terrible movie, man. James Franco, man, just, like, picked these really bad movies after Spider-Man, like this, Annapolis, you know, just movies that probably could have been good, but they have nothing of value whatsoever to them, and this is a film that has got zero effort put into it, nothing of value, nothing about this film is worth it in the end, and yeah, it's just a really bad movie. It's just not an entertaining film. It's boring, it's lifeless. These actors in this movie should have been so involved in something so much better than this, and just, this is the end result we got here. A film that probably was set to be a big Oscar contender for MGM, but they realized how terrible it was, so they dumped it off just before we got the big awards push, but yeah, you can avoid this one like the plague, so you can do the same thing with the next movie, which was an Oscar contender. In fact, it was based off of a movie that won Best Picture. This is All the King's Men, 2006.
Here's my strength.
The Academy Award-winning writer of Schindler's List and the writer of Gangs of New York. These are some powerful people that you've taken money from.
Things the power.
No man has ever been able to intimidate
Sean Penn, Jude Law, Kate Winslet,
Whatever it is, don't.
James Gandolfini, Coming with Love, Mark Ruffalo, Patricia Clarkson, and Anthony Hopkins.
They want to ruin you. And I won't let down.
All the King's Men. Rated PG-13. Opens everywhere Friday.
I mean, come on. A cast that includes Oscar winners like Sean Penn, Jude Law, Kate Winslet, Mark Ruffalo, James Gandolfini, Patricia Clarkson, Anthony Hopkins. Written and directed by Steven Sazilian, who made Schindler's List, was the screenwriter of that. Based off of one of the greatest Oscar-winning Best Pictures of all time. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, I remember seeing the original movie. I thought it was good, but I don't know if I would say greatest Best Picture of all time. But the fact that you're going all the way out to adapt remake a Best Picture Oscar winner like this, like, you better have something really good here. And you have a story that narrates the rise to power and demise of Governor Willie Stark, played by Penn, who takes the office in the American South. And the fictional character is loosely based off of Louisiana Governor Huey Long, who was elected as a U.S. Senator and was assassinated in 1935. And the pieces are there for something really good. Unfortunately, this is a pointless remake on so many levels, and right from the get-go, everyone realized, yeah, this definitely was not a movie that needed to be made, and quite honestly, there was no real reason whatsoever to remake this movie, and it's a lifeless movie. It's kind of like Fly Boys. Like, it completely misses the point of why it was trying to exist in general, because the original film had a point to it. There was a purpose to its storyline, and in this movie, there's nothing about it here. Everything is just so bland, it's so tedious. These actors who should be doing so much more in this movie are completely being wasted in this film. Like, it's amazing how they just sucked all the life out of this movie, of the original film, for this movie. Like, what's the point? Like, why even bother remaking it if you're just going to suck everything out of it that made the original film so great? This is a prime example of what happens when you take something that won Best Picture, was a Best Picture Oscar winner, and just try to remake it and just suck the life out of it and just give this movie no purpose to exist whatsoever, just to make a quick buck. And that's exactly what this movie was. And, yeah, there's nothing more you can really say about it except that the movie fucking sucks. It's a terrible film, a waste of talent all across the board. Just inexcusable how bad this movie is. This is absolutely horrible. Horrible. And I mean, we've seen a lot of Best Picture winners in the past couple of years get the remake treatment or give out a pointless sequel, Gladiator 2. But yeah, this is the absolute worst of the worst. This is literally the definition of clinging on to Oscar bait and trying to kite it up with all these people involved in it, and not even doing a good job at it whatsoever. So yeah, you can skip this one as well. So let's try to end the show on a high note. Let's go to our last film we have here, and that's Michel Gondry's follow-up to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is The Science of Sleep.
Dos, tres, cuatro.
Hi, welcome back. Tonight, I'll show you how dreams are prepared. Love, friendships, relationships, and all those ships.
Hello? Are you trying to mock me on the air?
If you're close.
I'm glad we live next door to each other. Stefan, are you here?
So in this movie, you have a man who's entranced by his dreams and imagination and is love-struck with a French woman and feels he can show her his world, you know, like the song in Aladdin goes, I can show you the world, which... Yeah, imagine if Aladdin was done by Michel Gondry, and you got this type of movie here, except in a modern setting type of thing, and yeah, like, the biggest obstacle for this movie is trying to be something on the same level as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which was a masterpiece, one of the best movies that came out in 2004, and this is his follow-up film, and to try to have that same magic again, I'm not going to say it didn't work, but you could definitely tell that he was trying a little bit too hard to recapture that magic all over again. And the end result overall is a film that's good. It's a good movie. It's a visually pleasing film. You've got two strong performances by Gael Garcia Bernal and also Charlotte Gainsbourg. But unfortunately, the rest of the movie just feels like it's trying way too hard to capture that same magic of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is a film that I think is very hard to top overall. And by God, the movie is trying to do something unique and clever with it. And unfortunately, it just can't reach that echelon to do something that stands out on its very own. And yeah, from a visual perspective, it looks great, but as I've said time and time again, visuals don't make the movie. You gotta have a good story. You gotta have good characters that we can get behind. And unfortunately, this film, I think, does not have that, but it's a good movie. It's a good film. If you liked Eternal Sunshine, you'll definitely find a lot to admire about this film, but just don't go in expecting another masterpiece like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with The Science of Sleep.
Since before the beginning of time. Man has ruled the forest. But in 2006, a change is coming that will put the forest back into nature's control. Oi! Open season. Stay away, or I'll be kicking your hairless pink mahookie. Oi!
Coming this fall.
Not this fall, baby. The fall after this fall.
Oh, got it. Coming not this fall.
I'm not working with this guy.
Then you say it.
How far we've come. Hard to believe that this is the same studio that would later go on making the Spider-Man movies, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, Arthur Christmas, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and this is how it all began. I say that like it's a very big deal, but there is some notable talents involved in the film itself in terms of who made the film. You have Jill Colton, who was actually the first female principal director on a big-budget computer-generated feature with this movie. She also did a lot of work with DreamWorks. She worked on the Toy Story movies, A Bug's Life, wrote the original treatment for Monsters, Inc. She helped develop Curious George. She went on to go work at DreamWorks. She's done a ton of stuff for various studios. She was one of the people involved on Richard Williams' The Princess and the Cobbler, a.k.a. Arabian Nights. And its co-director is Roger Ailes. Roger Allers, not Roger Ailes, the guy from Fox News. Roger Allers, who was the co-director of The Lion King and also worked on a lot of Disney stuff. The Emperor's New Groove, Lilo and Stitch, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Rescuers Down Under, Little Mermaid, Prince and the Pauper, Oliver and Company. Did a lot of work on Tron, did a lot of things overall with Disney. And he was one of the people involved in this movie as one of the directors of it. And so yeah, some notable animation talents behind the scenes. And a lot of talents in front of the camera as well. You've got a storyline where you have Boog, played by Martin Lawrence, who's a domesticated grizzly bear who's let go into the woods and teams up with a one-antlered mule deer, played by Ashton Kutcher, to return to his old home before open season starts. And they're being followed by a hunter voiced by Gary Sinise, and the caretaker for Boog is voiced by Deborah Messing. And yeah, the trailer kind of gives you an indication of what the movie is going to be like. And kind of like with Ice Age and kind of like with Despicable Me, it's the first film from a new animation studio, so naturally it's not going to be a great movie right from the get-go. Even though Ice Age is a great movie, Despicable Me, it's not bad, but certainly a lot better than what comes after that. But yeah, this is kind of right in the middle. I mean, this is kind of right in the middle, where it's not a bad movie, but it's not a great movie either. It's a film that's just kind of iffy. I mean, it's got very choppy animation overall. I mean, this is when everybody was trying to capture that lightning in a bottle that Disney and DreamWorks had been doing at that time. And this is a film where sometimes the jokes work overall, but then other times the jokes really aren't that funny. The story's not that great either. And yeah, it's definitely a very mixed bag of a film in general. And I would even say that this is definitely one of the weaker films by Sony Pictures Animation, because I mean, as soon as this movie is out, they're already making some good movies with their next film, Surf's Up, and then followed it up with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and yeah, they're pretty much on a roll after that. This film is kind of one of their weaker films, and it's not really hard to see why. Like I said, choppy animation, lackluster comedy overall, a pretty generic script overall, characters who aren't really not that intriguing or engaging whatsoever, and a film that's just passable. It's a passable film. There's nothing really about it that's terrible or anything, but just nothing really about it that's great either. It's just kind of there. It's just there to show everybody that, hey, we can play with the big boys as well. And while this isn't quite there yet for Sony Pictures, they would get going right after this. So it's not too much of a loss for them at this point. But this is a way to show everybody that we're here and we're ready to jump into the game. And they would show it not too long after this. But yeah, other than that, mixed movie. Nothing great, nothing bad either. So give it a pass. So let's take a look at the other Ashton Kutcher movie that came out this weekend, which is, with Kevin Costner also starring, The Guardian.
100 miles off the Alaskan coast, 6 members of a Coast Guard search and rescue team embarked on a mission at the height of a Category 3 storm. Only one would survive.
There's an instructor opening at A school.
No, I'm not interested.
You can't always be the one in the water, man. I need you to train the next generation.
That guy who holds all them records? Thought you ought to let him know I'm about to knock his name off that board.
Maybe you should let him know yourself. He's standing in the back of the room.
Have we made it clear yet that we're ripping off Top Gun yet? Do we need to keep punching it in your face that we're ripping off Top Gun? Because that's literally what they're doing in this entire movie. And also, of course, Kevin Costner is the only one who survives in that opening scene because he's the big star among everybody in there. He plays Ben Randall, who's a Coast Guard rescue swimmer, and when his crew is killed in an accident and his marriage ends, His commander tells him he wants Randall to go to U.S. Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer A School to train other rescue swimmers. He encounters a guy named Jake, played by Kutcher, who's a little cocky because he was once a swim champion, so Ben puts him through the ringer to see if he can handle it. What a way for Andrew Davis to go out as the director who gave us The Fugitive and also Holes and Under Siege, these really fun movies, and he goes out with a gigantic whimper. Like I said before, this is about as lazy and much of a Top Gun knockoff as you can get, and it's so poorly done, and yeah, it's a bad movie. It's a really, really bad movie, and I feel so bad for everybody involved in this. I feel bad for Costner. I feel bad for Kutcher. I feel bad for Clancy Brown. I feel bad for Celia Ward. I feel bad for John Hurt. I feel bad for Melissa Sage Miller. I feel bad for Neil McDonough. I feel bad for Andrew Davis. I feel, because this is a director who should be still making good action movies as a whole, and he's going out on a whimper, because this was the last film he ever directed, and to go out after you did so many good fun movies like Under Siege and The Fugitive, like, this is the way you gotta go. This is such a terrible movie. It's a lazy film. It's a cliched riddle mess that we've seen done to death so many times. And like I said, it's a movie that's completely ripping off Top Gun. Not the first time Disney tried to rip off Top Gun. You ever seen the movie Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen? Back in 1990? Yeah, that was that was another one too. Bottom line, it's a pathetic movie. It's a film that's so lazy, so cheap, so poorly put together, so cliched riddled, such a disastrous mess of a film. I really don't have anything else to say about this movie that hasn't already been said already. It's a lazy film. I wanted to see these guys do much better movies than this, and yeah, this is a movie that's completely devoid of any talent whatsoever, and just such a gigantic waste of time on everybody's part. My time, your time, their time, everybody's time. So yeah. Avoid this movie like the plague. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is the latest film from Todd Phillips, and that is School for Scoundrels.
Of Roger's life. I was just wondering, was every day of his life. Until he found a secret school taught by a man.
It is time to kill or be killed.
With no limits.
Why would he go after Europe? Play the best man wins.
Let's play double.
From the director of Old School.
We know you broke in. Look at this.
They're not cops. Textbook paranoid behavior.
School for Scoundrels. Rated PG-13. In theaters everywhere, September 29th.
And speaking of lazy, cliched riddled messes, here's another one. Here's the first real massive misfire for director Todd Phillips, who had been on a roll with Road Trip, Old School, and Starsky and Hutch, and here is his first major blunder, where you have John Heder as an unlucky meter reader enrolled in a confidence-building class so he can win the love of the girl of his dreams, played by Jacinda Barrett, and the class turns out to be something quite different when it becomes clear to the young man that his professor, played by Billy Bob Thornton, has his sights set on the same girl. So, it's basically Billy Bob Thornton's character from Bad Santa versus Napoleon Dynamite, featuring the chick from The Last Kiss, who was on The Real World. I mean, there's literally nothing that amazing about this movie whatsoever. This is like the third film since Bad Santa came out where Billy Bob Thornton is just playing the same character he played in Bad Santa. In the Bad News Bears remake, it worked because he was playing a character that was supposed to be an asshole in Morris Buttermaker. That worked. But no, this is the third of like 4 or 5 films where he's literally playing an asshole character just like the character he played in Bad Santa. This is like the third or fourth movie with John Heder playing Napoleon Dynamite because everyone thinks that he should be typecast as Napoleon Dynamite for the rest of his career. He hasn't really done anything since then besides playing Napoleon Dynamite without being Napoleon Dynamite. And even when he played Napoleon Dynamite in an animated series, actually it worked a lot better than most of the stuff he did after Napoleon Dynamite. This is just such a bad movie because it's just not a funny movie. It's a very cliched story based off of a movie that came out in the 1960s. There was actually a British version of this story this movie was based off of. I mean, they're very similar films, but they both feature a tennis game featuring the two rivals going at it. And there's a lot of things very reminiscent of that movie. But it's also very similar to Anger Management, the Adam Sandler, Jack Nicholson movie that only came out 3 years prior. That was much funnier than this. This just feels like a movie that is just literally trying to copy and paste whatever was popular around the time and just try to hide it under this movie that thinks it's more clever than it actually is. And it really is not. There's a lot of talent in this movie that is also just wasted too. I mean, Michael Clark Duncan, Sarah Silverman. Ben Stiller has a cameo in here. David Cross. You have Horatio Sands, Matt Walsh, Dan Fogler, Paul Scheer, Luis Guzman. Jim Parsons is also in the movie. So is Andrew Daly. A lot of really good talent in this movie, but unfortunately, there's nothing funny that they're given to do. This is just such a boring film, a lackluster film that really does not have anything worthy of it whatsoever. And the worst part about it is, they really were hyping this up to be a really big deal. I remember going to see a sneak preview of this a week before. This was actually one of the last times they actually did sneak previews for movies like this, and it was just like, you know, it was around it was coming out of they were doing a sneak preview at a time when I can go see it, so I went to go see it, hoping for a good movie because I liked this director's work before, and I came out of it thinking it was okay, but as time has gone on, I've realized that it really was not worth it in the end. It's a lazy film. It's a boring movie. There's nothing funny about it whatsoever. And it's, like I said, the first real misfire for Todd Phillips, who has made a lot of great movies overall. This definitely is not one of those films, so yeah. You can skip this one big time. School for Scoundrels, terrible movie. So with that said, let's get to some Oscar contenders. Movies that did get Oscar nominations and won some Oscars. Starting with the first movie we have here, which is Forest Whitaker as Idi Amin in The Last King of Scotland.
You want to kill me? You are like my own son, and you have grossly offended your father.
Yeah, Forest Whitaker's pretty good, but he pales in comparison to this.
Killing a few hostages is not sufficient. The Americans must be made to suffer. We must humiliate them.
You do not go far enough, General Amin.
Of course, that's the Naked Gun, the opening of the Naked Gun, and they had a General Amin in there, among with some of history's biggest dictators, including Fidel Castro and, of course, the Ayatollah Khomeini, and among others, and quite frankly, I don't know who that actor is, but I just wanted to bring it up because that was relevant to this movie here. The Last King of Scotland, based off of a novel of the same name, depicting the dictatorship of Ugandan President Idi Amin, played by Forest Whitaker, through the perspective of Nicholas Garrigan, played by James McAvoy, who's a fictional Scottish doctor. The film also features Kerry Washington and Gillian Anderson in this film as well, and is directed by Kevin MacDonald, who would later go on to direct State of Play, which I think is a very underrated film. And, overall, a really good movie, mostly because of what Forest Whitaker brings to the role of Idi Amin. He, of course, won the Oscar for Best Actor for this, and kind of hard not to see why. I mean, the guy putting his all into this performance, which is really, really good. I mean, it is a really good performance, all joking aside, but it really does show that, yeah, he deserved to win Best Actor for this performance. The cast overall is very good. McAvoy really gets a chance to show what he can do. You know, everyone knows him for his work in Wanted and the Chronicles of Narnia up to this point. Actually, no, Wanted came out a couple years after this, but, you know, most people saw him first in the Chronicles of Narnia, and they saw him in this movie and realized that, oh, that elf dude from Narnia is actually pretty good. Not the elf dude, the faun. It's the faun from Narnia is actually a pretty damn good actor in this. Of course, Kerry Washington's also in here, too. What more can you say about her? Gillian Anderson, this was the first time I ever saw her in anything where she wasn't in anything related to the X-Files, where she was actually using another accent besides the American accent that we know her from the X-Files. I did not know she had another accent to her before I saw this movie, which was something I probably should have caught on at that point, but yeah, like I said, the film overall is really good. The script overall is very good, written by the same guy who's going to write the next movie we'll talk about. Yeah, not much more to say about this one, except it's a really good movie with a great performance by Whitaker that shows why he won the Oscar, and it's just a solidly entertaining film. A really good film overall. Pretty good film overall. Not much more to say about that one, so let's go ahead and take a look at that other movie I was talking about, Helen Mirren starring as the Queen.
Has died.
From New York to San Francisco, from Boston to Seattle, America's top critics are unanimous. It's one of the best pictures of the year. The Queen, rated PG-13, now playing in select theaters.
Another really good movie that's mostly because of the strong performances by its leading actors. You have a story that's depicting the death of Princess Diana from 1997, and the royal family regards Diana's death as a private affair and thus not to be treated by an official royal death. That's an official royal death. And in contrast with the views of the Prime Minister, Tony Blair, played by Michael Sheen, and Diana's ex-husband, Prince Charles, who's played by James Cromwell, which is... Actually, no, I take that back. That's not James Cromwell, because, yeah, that does not seem like that does not seem like it fits at all. James Cromwell is actually Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. And Prince Charles in this movie favors the general public's desire for an official expression of grief. Matters are further complicated by the media, royal protocol regarding Diana's official status, and wider issues about republicanism. And it's a film that was highly praised when it came out, mostly because of what Helen Mirren brought to the table as Queen Elizabeth, who absolutely pitch perfect. I mean, Helen Mirren's been a great actress for so many years, and this was the movie that finally got her her long-deserved Academy Award for Best Actress, and rightfully so. It's a great performance. I mean, the fact that the Queen herself praised her for this movie and actually was invited to dinner at Buckingham Palace, I mean, for a movie like this to get that much praise from the Queen herself, that says a lot about this, is about how good of a performance this movie is, and how good of a movie this is in general. And this is a really good film. Peter Morgan, once again, writing a very strong script. For Stephen Frears, who did The Grifters, this is probably his second best film overall. A really good film with a strong cast overall, a really great storyline that works mostly because of the cast itself, the casting, and just how everybody fits their roles so well. It's a really engaging story. It's a really well put together film. I really like it a lot. I think it's a very good film. Watch it mostly because of what Mirren brings to the table as Queen Elizabeth. It's like with Forest Whitaker. I definitely can see why she won Best Actress for this, and it's a well-deserved performance that really does deserve a lot of attention for that performance in this. It's really good. What more can I say, man? The Queen, just slay, Queen, slay. Was not even intending for that to end that way, but whatever. That's the end of this episode of Time About the Movies.